Hey there, remember Trade Tuesday? Yeah, we're still going. I've got an update this week. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Alright, let's kick things off with what's sold. Our first item to sell was the Gibson map catalog. I got $85 on that, so after shipping and fees, we were able to net about $74. Next up, our second set of Gibson Schaller tuners sold on Reverb for a total of $244, but after you take out fees, shipping, and Reverb's cut, we were able to add $130 to our cash coffer. Scott the buyer had actually just purchased a private help session the day before where I helped him understand what was going on with his guitar. It was quite a doozy, but he decided to pick up these tuners to restore the headstock on his because somebody put mid-80s style Gibson Schaller tuners on it, when in 1979 it would have more so this style. And now the reason why this series took a short hiatus. We had to find a buyer for the Dean ML. It was a great guitar, it was upgraded up to wazoo, and it had a hard shell case. Sometimes it takes a while to find a buyer who appreciates all that. But Corwin found it on Reverb and he bought it for his 21st birthday, so congratulations, man. Have a great birthday with that great guitar. Since this is Trade Tuesday, I put a bonus item in there for him. So that sold on Reverb for $731.40. Now remember, we had to take the shipping cost out, we had to take the fees and the taxes that Reverb collected, and then we had our cost of $245, which was the sum of that Series 10 Stratocaster and the Ibanez guitar that I traded it for, plus the shipping costs, so we were able to net an additional $316. And that pretty well clears out all of our inventory, and left us with a cash coffer value of just shy of $1,500. We're getting close to the end of this thing. Things are going to start speeding up. However, I did decide to keep a few items: the Gibson bass pamphlet, the Model EB1 flyer, the Gibson bass series book, the bass place booklet, and what ended up being a 90s reprint of the 1962 Gibson catalog. I just don't think we need those in this series because there wasn't a lot of interest, but since I did end up finding my other map guitar pamphlet, I decided to put that back into the fray, so that is now on my website, and I've decided to bundle all those really cool calendars and other various promotional materials in one separate listing on my website. And just remember, those calendars have beautiful full color prints on them that you can easily just rip out and hang up all over your music room. It doesn't just have to be a calendar. You could even go as far as framing some of them. So with all this money, I went shopping. So that leads us to what I bought with the cash. This package was $100, this one was just a little under $800. So we've got $600 left in the cash coffers and two items that I think are going to be very popular. We've been having really good luck this season with small part items, so I picked this up because it's one of the most popular limited edition parts that didn't last very long in the 80s. We're talking about a set of these bad boys, original Gibson posi lock buttons. You generally would find them between like 1981 to 85-ish. So people looking to restore their guitars that had strap locks on it or something and wants the cool 80s part, I had picked this set up simply because of how clean they are. I mean, there's hardly any gold wear on that, and that is very rare for one of these sets. Even our screws still have gold. Very nice. I actually have a set of these new old stock that you could also have bought aftermarket instead of taking it off a guitar. But that is the official name, posi lock, spelled like that. Just one part locks on your strap. So better than a regular strap button, not as good as a real locking strap, but really cool from the era that it was birthed. But now we're getting to the part of the season where the show doesn't feel so alien anymore. We're getting back to the Gibsons. However, I've actually wanted to document this model for a long time, so it's a great tie-in, because this is a studio like you haven't seen before, that I found on Reverb late one night from a Canadian seller. And it's got one of those Gibson soft cases. Check out my review of that. It's one of my best episodes where I beat things up. But trust me, there's everything funny about this studio. It's the Nitrous series. So these were a version of the Les Paul Studio that wanted to blend hot rod culture and versatile tones. So the whole nitrous thing refers to nitrous, short for nitrous oxide. That's what the dentists use. It's laughing gas. However, the hot rod culture likes to use it in their engines because it gets more oxygen in there, which makes the thing go faster, quicker. You go extra fast when you're using the NOS. Had some very out there exotic hot rod car colors. We've got the one we're talking about today, Orange Glow. There was a vibrant red, and then my two favorites are Electric Lime and Cosmic Cobalt. Arguably, the Orange Glow and Electric Lime are the most unique studios of the lineup because you don't find many green or orange Les Pauls. But besides just our awesome metallic paint jobs, they were incredibly versatile. So we've got regular Gibson humbuckers in here, but they've got the push-pull pots for the coil splitting. No in and out of phase or series parallel, but coil splitting's pretty nice on a studio, and these have blade-thin 60s necks. So if you like that spec, you're gonna like these. However, if you have to have a rosewood fretboard on your Les Paul, you would want to pass on this because it uses the Granadillo fretboard. They were toying around with woods in this era. These were launched in late 2012, but I'm sure you could probably find some 2013s. But I've got to say, this is my first time I've seen it in person. I've always wanted to document one of these. I am digging it. Like, this color just shifts all the time, and it's looking great with the carved top. But the back of the neck has that really cool TV finish to it, so you can still see the wood grain even though you have a solid finish. That is sweet and slick. You can see it a lot of it on the back when you get the angling just right, but strangely enough, not on the top. Now, how much did these sell for brand new? Well, online I saw between $1,100 to $1,400. That seems about right. And the initial description said they initially came in a hard case, so that means someone has downgraded this one, but oh well. We got a really good deal on this guitar. And if it wasn't for a couple of small paint chips on the side and some lacquer stand rash on this one, I would totally keep this in my collection. But let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs before we put it into the Trade Tuesday series. Yeah, I told you guys things were going to pick up fast. This whole season, I haven't been getting like hardly any trade offers. It's been rather demotivating, but I think that's about to change. So just a recap, it's on my website. You can pay the buy it now price. The first week, I'm not open to offers, and it's usually a slightly inflated price. That way we can give trades a chance. If you've got a trade offer for me, you send it to tradetrogly@gmail.com. That's separate from my usual email. But hey, this thing's looking pretty good now. Let's get into it. Well, I certainly didn't expect to take an hour to clean that, but man, the results speak for themselves. This is nice and shiny. So let's check out our pickups here. The neck is a 490R in a font style that I've never seen on the back before. Bridge also has a variation you don't see often. Screws North 498T. So nothing too fancy in the pickup department. It's what studios and customs have had since the 90s. Within the circuit, I get 14K ohms in the bridge, 7.79 in the neck, and just for fun, the middle, 5. And don't forget, you can coil split those for about half the readings using these push-pull pots. And these utilize Gibson's black speed knobs. 2 volumes, 2 tones. Here's what the neck pickup cavity looks like, short neck tenon. And here's our bridge pickup cavity. Good old Henry J era splinters. Bridge and tailpiece aren't anything special either. It's just your regular API branded one for this era. And your tailpiece does have a small scuff on it right there that I was unable to polish off, but it's got the same branding. But this is a feature I forgot to point out. This series did not have a poker chip around it, which was kind of unique for this period in time. And they did not have pick guards stocked from the factory. This finish plays really well with the top carve because it just changes the colors. And the reason why you don't see the wood grain is the maple grain is much tighter in space than the mahogany one. So I think that would have been awesome had they did mahogany tops on these to make them even more interesting. But this does feature modern weight relief. That's the one that has the V-shaped cavity and then the other smaller ones. And as far as the body thickness, it's 1.8. So just in case you didn't know, a studio is not necessarily a less blinged out Les Paul standard. I mean, that's one way to look at it. But the bodies actually are 0.2 of an inch slimmer. So not a lot. You're really not going to notice it. But it is something worth understanding if you're trying to decide, studio or a standard or a custom. Moving on from our mahogany body maple top, we've got a mahogany neck with the Granadillo fretboard. I think this is the first time where I've been very happy with my Dremel polishing results. Those frets shine like mirrors now, but you just have your regular acrylic trapezoid inlays. And honestly, I'm really starting to like this orange finish because the Granadillo fretboard is kind of orangey in itself, so it matches really well with each other. But your typical 24 3/4 inch scale length with 12 inch fretboard radius, and the nut measures 1.71 inches, increasing to 2.09 at the 12th. And let's see this slim taper 60s neck, 0.85 first fret neck depth, and wow, 0.9, that is slim. Here's that neck at the 1st fret and the 12th fret, very slim C. Base of the headstock, regular Gibson studio stuff with silkscreen Gibson and Les Paul model decals. And Grover tuners, our truss rod's looking perfect. And the cover says studio, but what's kind of interesting is it's off-center, and it's definitely yellowed with age, almost as much as some 80s guitars. I wonder if this was seeing some sunlight, because the back is the regular white color. I think putting nitrous on that would have been pretty cool, though. Now we'll move on to the back. A lot of those marks on the back just disappeared after the polishing, but you still have a few light impressions. But those dings I showed you earlier were definitely the worst thing condition-wise on this one. So it's the standard PCB of the era. You've got your 2 push-pull pots here, and it's all built on a quick connect system. So if you have other pickups you want to put in here that are Gibson branded and have the black quick connects, it'd be pretty easy to do. But look right here, our output jack is just soldered onto it. And the solder work here doesn't quite look Gibson quality, so I'm going to go ahead and say the output jack has been replaced. And maybe even the plate itself, it just doesn't quite look right. Maybe Gibson ran low on the quick connect output jacks and just started soldering stuff on. It's hard to tell. The previous owner didn't disclose anything, but that doesn't mean somebody before him didn't do it. Because I also notice our strap buttons are replacements. Kind of strange because it's not a strap lock style, so why bother replacing them? But here's what our toggle switch cavity looks like, and a quick side profile shot of this one. Moving up the back of the neck, everything cleaned up beautifully, and again, you can see that mahogany wood grain. Some sort of a stand had to have caught that and chipped the finish a little bit, like a nitro burn. But what's nice is that's on the treble side of the neck, so when you play it, you don't see anything. Sadly, this one you do see while you play, but if you had somebody strip the finish off the edge and expose the maple cap, you could technically get rid of that. I don't think I would suggest that on a cool finish like this one though. But we've just got the regular Grover tuners. Made in USA, 2012. We can verify that with our numbers, 2012, 243rd day of the year. Secondary batch for that day, production number 384. All said and done, not a bad weight. 8 pounds, 6.9 ounces. Let's go ahead and kick on the nitrous. So the dirty tones are kind of interesting. Your regular humbuckers, I mean, they're just regular humbuckers, right? But for some reason, when you kick on the coil splits, it gets really muddy. Versus normal. So many times I had to check, is the tone rolled off or something? I think one of my favorite tones out of this though has to be the middle position when you're drop tuned a little bit. It's got a very nice tone to it. The same stuff with the cleans. For whatever reason, they just get muddy when they're split, but it works well for like single notes. Now that we know all about the Nitrous Les Paul Studio, what are my final thoughts on this? I actually had a really good time. I wasn't loving the neck profile at first, but you really start to get used to it and take full advantage of it. Like, it's slim, but it's not quite 61 SG territory. It's got just a tad bit more to it. Now, for me personally, yeah, the coil splits weren't the best. Maybe it's because it's on a PCB system, maybe it's not. But the regular humbucking position sounded pretty good. But at the end of the day, I'm just really glad I tried this in person because I love that TV wood grain effect that you got on this. I did not know to expect that on these. So I imagine the blue and green would be pretty darn cool as well. But I might have a new favorite within the Nitrous series because the orange pairs very well with that fretboard. But that's the end of this review and demo. If you're interested in being the next owner of this one, you can find it for sale on my website, troglysguitarshow.com, or this is part of Trey Tuesday, so you can email me at treytrogly@gmail.com if you think you have something that might tickle my fancy. All right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoy your newfound knowledge of the Nitrous Studio, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, you might enjoy the Hot Rod Studio. It came out a couple of years after the Nitro series, but that one played with the usual studio specs a tad bit more.